Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this easy goddess macrame ring, and this is what it looks like. So you have this really nice effect of your beads on top with this zigzagging cord running through. You have a nice and comfortable ring band going all the way around, so it's a really nice and comfortable ring to wear, but it's also pretty simple to make. So if you want to learn how to make this ring, then keep watching. So these are then the materials that we'll need. Now first of all we need our cord. This is a 0.9mm s-lon that I'm working with here, and it's a nice grey colour. And then as for the beads, I've got some 4mm plain rounds. These are just red coloured quartz gemstone beads. You can obviously use whatever you want to, and also whatever colour combination. All you have to make sure of is that the cord you're using can go through whatever beads you're using as well. So let's get all the materials together and let's get started. So then before we can start, we need some lengths of cord ready, and what I have here is two lengths of about 40 centimeters each, and these are going to be the holding cords throughout the ring. And then we also need two lengths of about 50 centimeters each here, and these are going to be the working cords. So then what I've done first of all is taken my two short lengths of cord, so the ones that are going to be the holding cords, and I put them in the same slot on my macrame board here that I'm going to be working on. So I've got both lengths there. And I'm just working with my mini macrame board because it's just a ring that we're making. And then I'm going to take my two working lengths of cord here, and I also want to just attach them to the board, and I'm just going to put both of them through the same slot, just like this. And then I have these coming out, and we're going to start using these working cords now and make some square knots here to start forming the ring. And just make sure that you leave a decent tail on this end that we still have left. You can see here I've got lengths left on the other side, and it's just because we're going to be using them to adjust the size of the ring band later on. So we're going to start more towards the middle of the working lengths of cord, not completely in the middle, but just make sure you have enough length on one end there to go back to. So then what I'm going to do is start out making some square knots here to kind of start forming one side of the ring band. And if you're not familiar with basic macrame knots, I already have a tutorial that shows how to do that. I'll put a link to that in the description box below. Otherwise what I do is take one side. I naturally always start with my left side, but you can easily start with the other side, it doesn't matter, as long as you stay consistent. Take my left cord over the middle ones, the right one over that, and then underneath everything in the middle, and then up through the loop there. So you get something like that. And there we go. And then tighten it to where we want to start the ring band, remembering to have some tails left up above your knot here. So that's one half. Then we need to complete that knot by taking the other side. So now the right one goes over the middle, the left one goes over that and underneath everything in the middle and up through the loop. There we go. And then as we tighten this is the second half of the square knot. And there we have one full square knot. And what I'm going to do is about 4 of these to begin with. So make 4 in total here, and then we're going to start adding in some beads. So now that I made the 4 square knots here, what we need to do is start adding in some beads. So what I'm going to do is release the 2 holding cords here, and then we need to start adding beads onto the ends of these. So what we need to do is add 4 beads here on each of our holding lengths. So I've got 4 on the one, and then I've got 4 on the other one as well, just like that. And then just push them all the way up. And just a little tip is one thing that can help if you struggle a little bit getting your cord through your beads. If you use a synthetic cord, what can help is singeing the end a little bit. So just use a lighter here, just gently singe it, and then roll it between your fingers. Obviously be careful doing that because it does get hot and it's a naked flame, but that way you get a bit more like a needle out of the end, so that can sometimes help getting them more easily through your beads. But then we got these beads on now, 4 on each holding cord. I'm then going to collect my holding cords together and place them back in the same slot again. So there we go, so now it sits like this, and I'm just pushing the beads all the way up, but just a little bit off from each other. You can see on one side, one is further up and the other side is just a little bit further down. So just like this. And then now we need to use our working cords to incorporate them into this beaded section. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to take my left one here, and I'm just going to bring this underneath to the opposite side all the way, just like that. And then the other one here, the one from the right side, I'm also going to bring underneath everything else, just to bring them to the opposite sides. I just find that they kind of end up sitting better by doing that first of all, before we start doing this wrapping around now. So what we just want to do is start with one at a time here, and I'm just taking my right one, and that's the side where I have the bead the furthest up as well. And I'm going to take that, and we need to start just wrapping this around, but making sure it's going to sit in the right places between the beads there. So I'm going to have it come up between the top and the second top one on that side, just like that, come up just right there, and then I'm going to bring it across at an angle going downwards, and then it needs to come down between the top one and the second top one on the opposite side. Now it can be a little bit fiddly, but just kind of take your time and do it, and you can always go back and adjust it afterwards. We now need to bring it back underneath again. So make sure that you constantly have your beads pushed up all the way together, and then we're wrapping the cord around here. So the first one sits like that, then I'm going to come up between, basically step down one bead from before, come up there, and then again wrap across the top at an angle downwards. So right now I've kind of got these sections with 2 beads at a time. Go underneath again. Always keep pushing up your beads and bring it across to the opposite side again. There we go. And then one more. Bring it up between the next 2 down. So that's now between the bottom one and the second from the bottom. And then go downwards at an angle, and then between the same ones on the opposite side there. And then back around underneath the holding cords there in the middle once more, just like that. And make sure your cord kind of comes out and sits where we want it to. Like I said, don't worry too much about it right now, because it's probably going to loosen up a little bit while we keep working with it. We can always tighten it back up. So now what I'm going to do is, because I'm working on the mini macrame board here, I can easily just take this and put it out to the side in one of the slots, just so it also kind of holds its place while we then work with the other one here. And what I'm going to do with that, it's the same thing but just wrapping around the opposite direction. So here I'm going to come up above the first bead on this left side, bring it across, and then come down between the top and the second from the top on the right side there. So again, same principle, we're going downwards at an angle, and then go back underneath. Remember to avoid the other cord that we were just using, all the way underneath, and come up between the next 2 beads on this side. So again, constantly we're stepping down 1 bead basically. Bring it across the top, again step down 1 bead on this side, bring it underneath everything, and then as we pull this over to the side, make sure it falls in the right place, and keep pushing up your beads. Come up, stepping 1 step down, 1 bead down here on this side. You can see we're getting this zigzag. That's pretty much all you want to make sure you achieve, is this zigzag effect. To the opposite side again, and bring it around underneath. And don't pull too hard as well, I want to say, because you can kind of make it a little bit uneven, but just have a nice even tension throughout. So now we're down here where we just have 1 wrap left. So go above at an angle again, and now we just have the single bead on this left side left. Bring it around the bottom again, underneath it all. So there we go. And this is then the point now where we can just spend a bit of time if there's anything that needs to be adjusted. You can also put this out to the side if you need to, just so it doesn't unravel too much while we then continue to work with it. So then, like I said, if we just want to tighten it up a little bit, if any of these cords that we wrapped around seem a little bit loose, all you can do is take, I've just got some fine chain nose pliers, or you can take some tweezers or whatever you have, and just go back to the beginning and just gently tighten them up one at a time. It's just obviously using the pliers here and tweezers you can actually get in there, whereas you can't really get in there and grab it with your fingers because it's a bit small what we're working with. So tighten it up nicely and then go back the other way if you need to. Just so we make sure, like I said, it looks nice and we have that nice and even tension. That's the main thing. So something like this. And then when we're here at the bottom, and we're happy with how it sits, I'm then going to release the cords again. So like this. So make sure your holding cords are nice and tight so they don't move around too much. Now what we need to do is make a square knot down here below all these beads. So all I'm going to do is take the left cord, bring it over the middle, the right one bring it over that, and then underneath everything in the middle and up through the loop. Now this first square knot is the one that's going to be the most fiddly because obviously the bottom here is still a bit loose, and that's what we're aiming to tighten up now. So you just want to tighten it so it's going to end up sitting right below the very last bead just there. So basically it's going to be the same as the other side where we just added the beads after making it. Here we're just making the square knots after the beads. Finish up your square knot just like that. And then again here I'm going to make the same amount of square knots as I did on the other side. So I'm just going to make 4, and then we'll reach the point where we need to complete the full ring band as well. So now that I have this part done with the beads and also 4 square knots on each side, then what I'm actually going to do is take this off of my board, because like I said, we need to then work on the rest of the ring band and also figure out the sizing of it. So like this. So to do that, I'm going to start kind of with one side at a time. We're going to be doing pretty much the same on both sides to make it even as well, but we're just going to start with one side. So you have the working cords are the ones that are going straight out to the side here. The ones coming out from the ends of the knots, those are the holding cords. So what I want to do is just start on one side here, keep hold of them, then I'm going to take the holding cords from the other side and bring them around. So we're obviously also going to start getting that ring shape. And the sizing doesn't have to be perfect yet, we're going to adjust that in a bit. And then I'm going to lay these next to each other basically, just like this. There we go. So you can see here, I'm just for now working towards this side. So I'm going to now keep making some knots, some square knots. What I'm going to do is just use these working cords here first, but then making knots around all of these 4 holding cords. So the 4 originally from this side, but then the 2 originally from this side, but then also the 2 from the other side crossing over, going in the opposite direction. So obviously you want to then make your square knot and continue from the same side. So take my left one over, the right one over that, and then underneath everything in the middle. Basically we're just going through the ring band, the whole ring itself, and then up through the loop. And then we want to tighten this. It's just the most fiddly just to begin with here. But once we've got the first knot in place, it gets a lot easier. We want to tighten this all the way up below the previous knot, just like this. And then you can see the 2 holding cords that we brought across from the other side are just sticking out there at the back. Then I do the same thing with the other side to complete the square knot. Like that. And again tighten that. So now it holds in place a lot easier. And you don't have to hold on to it as much. So I'm just going to do another one, and then basically what we're going to do is again not fully complete this side yet or figuring out the sizing, because I'm just doing another one just to have a little bit more security while I can keep working with it. Just like this. And then I'm going to go straight over to the other side, so just flip it around And then we need to do what I just did here, repeat the exact same thing on this side as well. So go to that side, we already have the holding cords coming from that side, we already incorporated them into the other side, and now I need to bring the holding cords from that side over and across, just like that. You can see it's basically going to be exactly the same thing. Just want him lying on the other side actually. Try and keep him a little bit flat inside of the knots. And then here we just want to do the same thing, make a square knot or two to begin with. Just try and keep all the other cords out of the way. But on this side you'll find that you're going to have to start from the opposite side, because you'll notice there you'll always be able to see where you need to start making your next square knot to make them flat like this. It's always the one where the cord is kind of coming out underneath the last knot. You have a little kind of loop at the top there. So I need to start with the opposite side. So I'll put that over first. As you can see again, the first one on this side is the most fiddly. As soon as we have a first knot in place, it becomes much easier. And then tighten this all the way up below the previous knot. And don't worry about these two not being even yet. Do the other side to complete this square knot. Like that. And again, just like this side, just for a little bit extra security, I'm just going to do another one. Also so they're both even. I want to try and keep both sides as even as possible. So then I've done my two square knots down both sides, incorporating the holding cords from the opposite sides in, so they're just sticking out here, kind of from the inside of the ring band now. And then all I'm going to do is, you can either start measuring your ring now to figure out how large you need it to be, obviously, because you also don't, there's no point in making too many knots. But what I'm just going to do is make a couple more knots, because I know I need a few more, and then I'll show you how we figure out the size. So I now made a couple more square knots on each side here, making sure that they're even, so I have the same amount on each side of my knots. And then now what I want to do is just figure out the sizing, because obviously, like I said, there's no point in making too much. So you can either measure it against your finger, try it on, and then see if you need to add any more knots or not, or whether it's the right size. Or you can use a ring mandrel like this. So all I'm going to do is put it on. So obviously you can see this is far too big for a ring. But what I'm going to do then is go back up here where we have the holding cords, and they're coming out on the inside of that ring band. And then I basically want to pull at these in opposite directions. And you can take one at a time. And what it's going to do is pull the ring closer together. So basically tighten up the ring band. So I'm just going to take that out, make it a bit easier. Pull at each side, you can do one at a time here. And then what we need to do is finish off the whole ring. So I'm just going to tighten up my last two square knots right here. So you can see the square knots from each side, the last ones I did, these are the working cords, they're now completely meeting up together. So that's what I said, if you then measure it now and you find you still have a bit of space where you can see the holding cords, an open gap there, you just make some more square knots to fill in that gap until you have your square knot from each side completely meeting up like this. So now I'm going to finish off some of these cords. I'm going to just take a few at a time, and it can really help them kind of pushing the ring band a little bit inside out like this. I'm going to take my scissors, cut them down on the inside here, so I have about a couple millimeters left of the cord sticking out like that. Then I'm going to take my lighter, again you can do this if you're using a synthetic cord, otherwise you might need to use some glue, and then just cinch down the very end that we have left and then press it in. So like I said, be careful because it does get hot. Either do it with your fingers, or what you can also do is use the lighter itself to kind of flatten it down. because obviously this is on the inside. You just want to make sure it's not going to irritate your skin or anything. So do the same on the other side. Then we need to also finish off the working cords down here from the square knots, and all you do with them is same thing, cut down the excess so you have a couple millimeters left or so, and take your lighter or glue if that's what you're using, and just cinch down the ends. And then we just want to squeeze that melted bit in, and that just seals it in place nicely. So it secures it and also gets rid of the excess. Do the same with the rest of the cords here, and then once you've done that, you got your finished ring. So I now got rid of all the excess cord here, and then this is what it looks like. So you can see a really nice feature of the beads down top with the zigzag of the cord, and then you have a nice and comfortable ring band going all the way around. So it's a really comfortable and easy ring to wear, and it's quite easy to make as well, as you can see. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful as well, and thank you very much for watching. Hello everyone, today I want to show you how to make these macrame bracelets, and these are the beaded version of my intertwining herringbone macrame bracelet that I did last year, and they look like this. So I've just made these two examples, so it's the exact same technique as you can see, but because of the different just cord that I've used here, you get two very different looks, and even the beads are the same ones as well. So I've used a white satin cord and then a black one, because I thought that would be a nice neutral background colour for the silver